Hello, welcome back to Radio Free Gastonia, the internet's number one source for just barely competent, um, somewhat decent emergency historical content. And we're back again. This might not be for the public, but I'm just, got a lot on my mind. I've been thinking a lot. I'm back in Atlanta, getting settled back in here. And I've just had some things on my mind. Like our school semester is going to start soon, but I've been a little bit obsessed with the movie Anora, almost on a promising young woman level of obsession. My friend Chris always likes to make fun of me for having watched Promising Young Woman like 4 times in 1 week. It definitely gave voice to a lot of the frustration and anger that I felt towards some people in my life, and for whatever reason, I don't. That was a movie that really captivated my imagination, and Nora's kind of like that too. If you're not familiar with the film, it is the latest film by director Sean Baker, who made Tangerine, The Florida Project, Red Rocket. His films always center on poor or working class or marginalized people, and he's gotten some criticism for that. In my opinion, not well deserved. You know, um, if you grew up in the 1980s or 1990s, every fucking single TV show and movie is about affluent to rich people, growing pains, um, um, Family Matters. We know Family Matters is actually an outlier in that regard. What's the other one? Family. What's the one with Michael J. Fox? Anyway, um, like most home improvement, most TV shows are about people who live in big, nice houses, and um, you get the occasional weird Roseanne or Malcolm in the Middle in there, but one of my favorite shows of all time, Everybody Hates Chris. But if you grew up like a lower income person, you're not going to see yourself on TV or film very much. And so when people do make art about people who are struggling, people who have not, won the socioeconomic lottery, um, then people start criticizing it. They're like, well, no, this is poverty porn. Oh, you're exploiting these people, blah, blah, blah. It's like, well, maybe these people have lives and inner lives and stories and adventures and experiences that just don't usually get shown. And that doesn't mean the person who's the writer or director of that is a villain who's, taking advantage of them. I mean, maybe in some cases it is. I'm failing to think of a good example right now, but certainly there are exploitative works on the poor or working class. But I've been thinking about it a lot. I think Anora is so powerful because it shows somebody with doesn't have two nickels to rub together, can use sex work, stripping, and whatnot to try to just survive. Has no family that's seemingly there at all, except her sister, who just yells at her. But I don't know. I've been thinking about it so much, and it's something that I don't know how much you can understand it unless you've been there. And look, I've not been a sex worker or exotic dancer, but I've been poor as shit. And what it means to have agency in a circumstance like that. The character that Mikey Madison plays in Anora, Annie, really reminds me very much of a friend of mine who, it took me a while to realize this, but and I won't. I mean, I'm not going to say who exactly that is, but um, a woman who was basically kind of a single mom and raised a couple kids in very difficult circumstances, and who's just like a little powder keg of power. That she, even though she doesn't have connections or wealth or I don't know, kind of like social standing in a certain way, um, will fight like fucking hell. Um, and that's what Mikey Madison's character reminded me of. And that's kind of the mama bear kind of thing. Like if you did anything to her kids, she's gonna like cut you. She's gonna fuck you up. Uh, no matter whether she has next month's rent or has a fancy degree or something like that. So, I mean, I've been thinking about it a lot, and I've been reading a lot of things about Anora and how it's been received. Um, I find it to be quite moving and quite and funny and all that. Um, for some reason, I've also been thinking about John Prine a lot, and I don't really. These two things seem to be very not necessarily connected, but I don't know. He's just been on my mind. I guess because my mom is sick, and I've been thinking about her a lot. She has COVID. And I remember thinking of the song "Hello in There" by John Prine a lot during the COVID pandemic, which, um, newsflash, is still happening. Um, but there's something about this continuity between a movie that, I mean, it could not be more different from John Prine, probably, in his songwriting. But the struggles of working class New Yorkers, and then Prine, who grew up, I think, in the suburbs of Chicago, but had roots in Kentucky, um, and the kind of music he made, which are about like ordinary working class people and their hopes and dreams and struggles. Angel from Montgomery, which I've been listening to over and over again, especially Bonnie Raitt's version of it. Um, there's some kind of continuity there that I'm not really fully figuring out the thread between, but I would think of Prine. I think he's probably best known for Angel from Montgomery. I think In Spite of Ourselves, that he did with Iris DeMent, is also somewhat well known. Um, I think of him as kind of the working man's Bob Dylan. Not as, maybe as intellectualized or mythologized as Dylan, but an amazing musician and songwriter. He kind of reminds me a little bit of like Tom T. Hall, who was known, almost entirely as a country music singer and songwriter. Maybe not as well known as Prine or Dylan for sure. But Tom T. Hall in his day back in the 60s and 70s was a pretty well known guy. I mean, he was pretty successful. His song "Pay No Attention to Alice" is one of my favorites. And Tom T. Hall wrote about ordinary people. I mean, he came from the people, and he wrote songs about waitresses and truckers and just normal, like people who would not be regarded as especially significant compared to someone like Bob Dylan or something, or famous actor, academic, or celebrity. And I've just been thinking about that. I don't know. It runs through my mind. I intuitively, just instinctively relate with Anora, or the character Annie, and also just the like Armenian thugs like, are a part of the story too. They're working people who are doing a job, not doing it very well, as it turns out, which is why the movie's funny. But I don't know. There's something running through all that, and we know that the rapist sociopath is going to be president again in about like a week or two, and then the other. I don't know what I'd say about Joe Biden, but there's some allegations about him as well. Somebody who's also arguably made life worse in America than Donald Trump has over his long career of serving the interests of big banks and you know prison industries and whatnot. But uh, there's an untold story of class in America, and it's very hard to sort out because it gets scrambled with all these things about race and ethnicity and gender and sexuality. But we know that there's a history of working class people in America that hasn't really been fully told. And even though I'm like a working historian who's written a book or two, um, I'm not necessarily even telling that story either. Um, it goes beyond just what's the, gosh, Sean, I'm totally blanking. I'm sorry. Like Madawan, like it goes beyond just movies about West Virginia coal miners, or Sally Field as a textile worker. It's a much bigger story. And I guess Anora, like, I mean, I think what one of the things that Sean Baker is trying to do in this film and his other works is to, bring sex work into our understanding of what work is and what being working class is. I think he does it incredibly well. So there's this bigger story that hasn't been told. And then when I listen to somebody like John Prine, or I was listening to the Carter family earlier today, um, there's a golden thread that runs through these things, and I haven't exactly figured out exactly how to like put it together or tell the story, but um, there's something for me as somebody who you know came up and with a single mom who just paddled and paddled like crazy to try to stay afloat and give me the best life she possibly could. But didn't didn't have an easy time. She was sexually harassed. She was cheated out of money, out of wages. She managed to get a good job in a factory at a certain point when I was growing up. But still, there's just something that I definitely relate with. And I'm trying to put this all together in my head. So this is another one of me just thinking out loud. But if you haven't seen Anora, I strongly recommend it. If you never listened to John Prine, I definitely recommend him. Um, and if you've never heard Anchored in Love Divine by the Carter family, I recommend that too. So I think I'll probably leave there because I feel like I don't really know where I'm going with this, but and maybe nobody will ever see this video, but nevertheless, school is starting in about a week, and this is Radio Free Gastonia, the internet's number one source for barely legible, just good enough emergency historical content. So you'll have to hear from me again soon. I'm sorry. There's nothing you or I can do about that. So